Hello! I'm so glad that you're here and that you're joining me for this video where I'm going to show you what drawings I made during the month of October. So last year I also participated during October and I focused on drawing South African animals and big and small. And then it also turned into not just animals, but it also became birds. I had a lot of fun. And then I also included people. So I wasn't too strict with my own rules. I really just wanted it to be a fun project. The focus for me was on drawing and on enjoying the act of drawing and just having fun. I do a lot of other work that is conceptually driven, and it's just sometimes nice to return to the activity of just drawing for fun. Let me share with you the drawings that I made. I'm going to show them to you in the order that I posted them on Instagram. So it's not always necessarily on the day that I made that drawing. I later on got confused with my own order. This is the first drawing I posted, and this is from the film Breakfast at Tiffany's, and that is that at the end of the scene where Holly Golightly goes and looks for Cat. Cat disappeared, and it's this joy and relief in finding Cat. And on this day that I drew this drawing, I was actually also very upset. So you can see that erraticness in the mark making of the drawing. This is from a film still from a Afrikaans romantic movie. It's called Vergeet My Nie, and this scene is actually where they are in Namibia. So I included some of that in there. The tail that you see is from Meme. She has come to visit us. This is from the film The Count of Monte Cristo, and this scene is when he is in jail on that island, the jail that you cannot escape from. This is such a wonderful story of grace and forgiveness for me. I also, during the month, I try to play with, I worked in only black ink, but I worked with pen and ink. I worked with brush and ink. So here I've got some brush. I've got different tools that I'm working with here. I worked with dipping pens. I also worked with, I already said brush. So different drawing utensils, but I kept with just black ink. This is from the film In the Heart of the Sea. It is an adaptation of the book Moby Dick. It's some of those scenes where they go and visit the narrator with the gloss, indoors, the gloss and the wax and the oil and the different reflections in the glass. Such a beautiful scene, sort of such an intriguing scene for me. This is from The Great Gatsby, a great story, and this adaptation I used as inspiration was from where Leonardo DiCaprio was Gatsby. And it was also just visually such a beautiful, beautiful movie. So I really loved this movie. This is from Mad Max. Awesome movie, really great. And I try to play with different textures and creating different textures from the textile to skin and to the hair, and applying a different mark making to indicate a different texture. This is from the film The Book Thief. Also such a beautiful story. I know there are many stories by now of the Second World War, but if you're a bibliophile, this will really resonate with you. This is from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and I you can see it's still incomplete because my hour was up. This is from the film Knives Out. I have to confess I haven't seen this movie. The film still is from Daniel Craig. I drew this whilst I was waiting in the car, and then I added the washes later on. So yeah, I just wanted to utilize the waiting time in the car, and I had a magazine with me, and this film still was in the magazine. So that's where this is coming from. This is from Ladies in Lavender. Oh, another beautiful story, just the different nuances. It's such a sensitive film. Yes, really great story to go and watch. This is from Ghost World, the film adaptation of the graphic novel by Daniel Clowes. So it's a homage to Clowes. I hope I pronounce his surname correctly. Such a interesting story. So if you can, you should read the graphic novel. This is from the film The Blind Side, played by Sandra Bullock. Also a very interesting story, and it was based on true events. Here I began to play a bit with the combination of brush and using pen. This is from a scene from the film Into the Wild, and also the book. I've read the book. It's such a intriguing book, and also just confronts our mortality, and yes, such a great book. This is from The Secret Garden. I love this story. Oh, well, you might have gathered that I love all the stories of the films that I drew from. So just this idea of discovering something beautiful, this secret garden and the garden bringing healing. Oh, there's just so many truths for me in that story. This is another favorite story of mine this is from Pride and Prejudice. So again, there's just this story has got a lot of undercurrent and sensitivity. It's not blatantly spelled out. This is from the film Frida. This film portrays the life of the artist Frida Kahlo. And if you know and love her art and you haven't seen this film yet, you really should go and see the film because it is also so beautifully made. They've taken her artworks as inspiration for setting many of the beginnings, sort of the opening scene of a new scene. And then it's like the painting is a set and it comes to life. It's just, it's a very, very, very beautiful movie to watch. Here I also used a combination of pen with some brush in the hair. This is from Juno. Oh, such a fascinating, cool story, a very, very cool story. This is from The Jungle Book, and I wanted to see if I could move away from the line and the controlled line. So I began just with wash, using the ink as kind of like as watercolor and building up wash. And then I ended up feeling this drawing does need some lines, so I went with pen in on it afterwards, but it was a layered drawing. I love animals, so I would of course love the story. This is from the film Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. This is not Mandela, by the way, but it's a really good film adaptation of Mandela's book. And if you have tried to read his book, it's a very intense read. It's a very long book. It's a thick book. So maybe you then should go and watch the movie because the movie is really good. This is from Iron Man, and I think it is the second Iron Man. I've watched all of them. I really enjoy this character, Iron Stark, and this whole interplay between a dependency on technology and what it means to be human, and what the suit and him, that interplay between him and technology, and can we find a streamline between the two, and how dependent should we be on technology. I don't know if that other people pick stuff like that up in the films, but those are the kind of philosophical things that sparked the story for me. This is from Alice in Wonderland, the latest film by Tim Burton. I just really love this film still where she's looking through the hole that the rabbit jumped in, and she's now contemplating, should I follow it or should I leave it? And it's her crossroads really in life. Oh, this is another awesome movie. This is from Amelie, and it's just such a whimsical story, and at the time it was very offbeat. It was very different. I really loved this movie. I tried again to just work with brush, but then I looked for variation in line, or I needed that variation in line, and I wanted that fine line, so I used the fine pen, the Micron not 5, to get that fine line. I don't know if you can see it. This is from Jurassic World. I loved all the Jurassic Park movies, and I've seen all of them, and really just loved the facial expression of that film still, so that's why I drew it. This is a film scene, a film still from the film A River Runs Through It. It's such a beautiful story. I just love stories. And this one did, I used the dipping pen and ink and then brush to create the washes. And you can see there was a bit of running of my washes because I had a time limitation, so I wanted to finish the drawing in time. And I must say that dipping pen just allows for that. It really feels like the ink is flowing on the paper. There's a beautiful thing that you get, and the line quality is very different from what the pen gives you. The experience is so much different. So it was very, very nice to draw it this way. I didn't buy any special paper or anything for this project this month. I have a lot of sketchbooks and I just wanted to use the paper that I have. So you'll see the color of the paper is sometimes different because this was still a watercolor paper that I had around. It was a hot pressed 300 GSM watercolor paper, and that's why I could have the washes over it. But this is just very thin sketchbook paper. This is a scene from Les Misrables. I adore this story also because it is such a beautiful unfolding of grace for this character, Jean Valjean. He's been in prison, wrongfully imprisoned, and then he gets out, but he's now stigmatized because he was in prison. And then he steals some silverware, candles, silver items, and so on, from valuables from the church. And he gets caught, and he's taken back to the church, and the friar, I don't know if he's a priest or a friar, he bestows this moment of grace on him, and instead of saying yes, he has stolen the work and basically condemning him, knowing that he will condemn him, he tells him, no, I'm so glad you brought him back, actually, because there's more stuff that he forgot and he must take it with him. And that silverware is what gives him this opportunity to sell it, to get money, to make a start in his life, and to finally stand on his own 2 feet. So, and then of course a lot of other things happen, and there's a lot of drama, and the American, not the French Revolution is also part of the story. So this is from a rom-com. There should be at least one rom-com in this collection, My Best Friend's Wedding. This was played by Julia Roberts. The 90s, I think, was the heydays for rom-coms. They don't really make them the way they used to. Just using brush for the hair, so I tried a different technique for the hair. This is from Narnia. You know, he's not really human, but he's sort of human, and she's at least human. Such a beautiful story, and I'm so sad that they didn't complete the series. Oh, I love stories about food. So this is, I think I just drew one, but usually if there's a cooking or a chef, some story about food, I will definitely watch it. And the chances of me loving that is nearly guaranteed. But this movie, Julie and Julia, also such a great story, based on someone's real life, based on two people's real lives, and it reflects both of them. So the woman of the past, Julia Child, who became like an American cook, but a cookbook writer, I suppose, and she was on TV as well with cooking shows and so on, teaching housewives how to really up their game with home cooking. And then it also reverted back to just after 9/11. I think the time frame was 2001. Another woman rediscovered this book of Julia Child, and she decided that she was going to cook every recipe in that cookbook, and she blogged about it. And then from there on, the story, the two parallels reflect one another. But the relationship between Julia Child and her husband is such a beautiful story, and it was so beautiful to see. So Julia Child was played by Meryl Streep, and the man, I must remember his name. He is such a great actor. I think he's Stanley. I'll check what it is and put it in his name up. But yes, I really loved this scene as well, this tender scene between the two of them. Another amazing story, very fascinating story. If you love art, Midnight in Paris by Woody Harrelson. And it's this man who gets transported back to he's time traveling, but he's time traveling in Paris, and he gets exported to sort of the clubs of the time and meeting all the different artists. And yeah, it's such a fun story. Really, really fun, lighthearted, but fascinating story, because you get a peek into all these artists as human beings. This is not a movie that I've watched, but it's my husband's favorite story. It's Sommersby, so I drew this for him, thinking about him. So this was played by Richard Gere, and the woman's role was played by... there's that moment. I'll remember her name and put it up in the comment. And then the last one is also a great series of movies, Lord of the Rings. So I just had to include it. Such a beautiful fantasy story, and yes, loved it. So those are my 31 drawings. Thank you so much for joining me and watching the video. I hope you liked it, and I think I should just show you my dear beautiful friend here before I end off. But yeah, I hope to see you soon. Bye.